welcome to Messages of Hope. I'm Jill Lublin, your host and author of 3 best-selling books. Tonight, I'm delighted and thrilled to introduce you to our guest, Marcia Wieder. She's the founder of Dream University and a woman who's written 14 books, right?
That's right, in my spare time.
Marcia helps you to dream on. I'm making that up, but I kind of like it, actually. And Marcia, being a woman who really helps people with dreams, let's start there about your whole life to me has been a dream. You know, you're a wonderful role model and a strong, wonderful woman, and you really made your dream come true. But if you were just taking yourself backwards for a while and look at Marcia before, what was your dream? How did this all start?
Well, I think it's always useful to start with how we're using the word dream.
Okay.
So in my language, a dream is something that you want, and where dreams come from, you make them up. Some of them are based on need, like putting food on the table. Some of them are based on desire, like your dream of writing a best-selling book or traveling around the world. But the dreams that are the expression of your heart and your soul are usually the most profound. So we could say standing in your purpose, the quality of your dreams and the quality of your life actually will change. So I wanted to make that distinction because we're not talking about winning the lottery, right? You know, so the difference between a dream and a fantasy, like winning the lottery, is that in a dream you can actually do something about it. But a lot of people, especially nowadays, because we're so mired in reality and so busy living from our clocks and calendars, don't even know what our dreams are, much less how to accomplish them. And I was one of those people. I was living my life in 15-minute increments. I was president of the National Association of Women Business Owners back in Washington, D.C., and had the privilege of meeting and working with 3 United States presidents. But the truth of it is, I wasn't happy. And one day I asked myself, to this day, what I consider to be the most confronting question that any of us can ask, and that is, how do I really want my life to be? And I think it's confronting because if you're someone who practices living with integrity, which is critical to manifestation or making dreams come true, the next question has to be, and what am I willing to do about it? So the how do I want my life to be, you know, was completely different than how it was. I didn't like my body, my bank account, my business, my relationship, the view that I had from my home or office. I just pretty much was really dissatisfied. It was like I was living someone else's dream.
But let me just ask, if I were looking in from the outside, I'd
It
probably
looked pretty
say,
good.
Yeah.
It looked pretty good. So I had a successful marketing and media company. I was in the National Press Building. I had a lot of success and prestige, but I was very driven. I would say I was living my life in 15-minute increments. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner meetings. It was one of those, oh my gosh, I forgot to get married. You know, one of those. I'm happy to say that's changed. But I decided to go on, and I highly recommend this for people who are ready for a change or need to reignite their passion. And we can talk about how people with passion and dreams actually live longer, healthier lives. It's been medically proven. But I went on what I would call a passion quest. Where I took a period of time, and it's nice because you don't have to put the rest of your life on hold. I still had to work, I still had to earn an income, I still had to pay the mortgage and the bills, but I took a period of time to kind of put my antenna up. I remember my favorite Martian where he was antenna. I was him for Halloween one year, you know. But with my antenna up, I was paying attention to what mattered to me or what moved me or what touched me. And I remember it like it was yesterday, and this was 20-some-odd years ago. I was driving home. I was living in DuPont Circle. The radio commercial came on for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Something inside my body viscerally responded, and because I was in passion quest mode, I followed it. And that night I went to a meeting where 5 of us sat around a round table with an exposed light bulb hanging down and paint peeling off the walls, what I would call nonprofit land. But the work that these people were doing there, Jill, was really priceless.
That was Make-A-Wish when they were just starting.
It was early days of Make-A-Wish Foundation, where it's like, oh, we're granting wishes to sick and dying children. I'm like, what is that about? And we sat around a table talking about how we were going to raise money to send one child to Disneyland and get another kid a puppy dog. And I left that meeting, I went out to my car, I went to put the key into the ignition, and I just started to sob. I had been so impacted and so deeply moved by who these people were and what they were doing that I knew at some level I was really being shown, or at least given a glimpse into who I was and what my life would be about. Now, I didn't know that the next 30 years of my life and 14 books later that I would be considered a thought leader on making dreams come true. But I think when you stick with something long enough,
What happened? Yeah, so then where'd you jump in? Did you quit your job? You said, that's it, I'm closing down? I mean, what shifted?
I actually believed that I had a message. And part of it was that I had been really good at making things happen, that I was the youngest president of NABO. I used to be the youngest everything. Now I'm the oldest everything. Another thing that happens with time. But I felt like I had a message, and I sat down and said, okay, if there's really a message, and let me see if I can get it out. And I started writing, and that's when I wrote my first book, Making Your Dreams Come True. And then it hit me that I couldn't be talking about and teaching people how to make dreams come true while I was whining and complaining about my life.
Right.
And that it really was kind of this wake-up call that, oh my gosh, who would I have to be in order to really say that I'm an expert in teaching people how to make their dreams come true? I would have to be someone who walked that talk, but not only that, and this I can only say in hindsight, I'd have to be somebody who learned how to fail without considering or labeling herself a failure. I had to be somebody who went for dreams and had disappointments and defeats and failures and lived to talk about it and teach about it. So I'm very much that kind of a speaker and author and teacher. I experience something, the highs and the lows, and when I live through it, I write about it and I talk about it, but it's always from within the experience.
So what was, for instance, a big dream that you failed at? Just curious.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's see. When I moved out to California, because it was at that point I thought, well, my dream was, like, okay, what's the dream? To live in a cosmopolitan city near the water where it didn't snow. I had grown up on the East Coast. Snow for me is something you visit. So it's like I loaded up the car, and moved to Beverly, I mean, with the fax machine, that's how old it was, and moved out to start a new life. And some years back, I bought a little cottage that I thought was going to be my dream home. Well, it turned out, you may remember some of the story, it turned out that the previous owners had built a false floor to cover up that the house had slipped 8 inches on the foundation. And the walls were out of plumb, and because they were cinder block, they couldn't be replumbed, and the house had to come down. And so for 4 years, the dream queen was living a nightmare, and every penny I made was going to lawyers, and it was really horrific. And I let myself really fall into a victim modality, and I just was so in fear and lack and survival, and it gave me so much compassion and understanding that when we're in survival mode, it's hard to dream at all.
Yeah.
And eventually one day I woke up and I said, no more, I'm not living like this anymore. And I turned to my partner, Patrick, and I said, I'm going to go find us a new home. And he said, what are you talking about? He said, we can't buy a new house until we sell the dump, which we had proverbially started calling it after 4 years. Yes. The mold and the mildew was moving in. It was just horrific. And I said to him, I said, well, I think that's the myth of prerequisites. And I think this is a lot of what hope is about as well, that it's not always about A and then B and then C. That sometimes you have to put a stake in the ground for what's important to you.
That's right.
And then this is the integrity piece, I think, put yourself in right relationship by acting on your dreams. And Patrick said, we have to sell this as a tear down before we can buy a new place. And I said to him, well, here's the challenge with that. I teach people, don't look in your checkbook for evidence of whether or not you're going to, or you should believe in your dreams. Like, don't look at the stock market. Don't look at the news. The place to look is in your own heart. And can you believe in something simply because it matters to you?
Well, should we put blinders on, really? Like, how do we make a dream come
Well,
true?
this is the critical piece. This is the critical tenet, that can you believe in something because it matters to you, and then demonstrate that you really do believe in it by taking action on it. And what I said to him was, if we don't go for our dream, it's over for me. I can no longer speak, teach, and write and tell people to have faith in their dreams. I'm a hypocrite. So we acted. It was this huge leap of faith, and we wound up buying a beautiful new home. And like a week later, the builder of our new home bought the lot for a lot of money. But the moral of the story was, I found the place inside myself that could act on something because it mattered to me.
Right.
And somebody once said to me, well, nice for you, Marcia, it had a happy ending. What if it didn't? Well, I was already living in hell, to tell you the truth.
Right.
We were already at the bottom.
Well, it's not like you haven't had unhappy endings. That's what I love about you. It's very authentic. It's, you know, I'm living
it's a life.
And it is
Yeah.
life. And life is not always but a dream.
No, I wrote that book too, Life is But a Dream. That was one of my titles. It is not always that. You know, I've learned early on, I'm not Pollyanna about my work. The Dream University is very whole-brained. I teach people to be visionary and creative, but also practical and strategic. If you're all about only being practical and strategic, you're being overly realistic and probably squelching your passion. However, if you're all in the dream and la-la land, well, then you're fantasizing, and that's giving dreaming a bad name.
Now, is there a particular formula that you would recommend for creating your dream?
Well, the simple approach, instead of the ABCs, we're a university, right? So we're the only university in the world solely dedicated to helping people achieve their dreams. So instead of the ABCs, we'll give you the CBAs. C, get clear about what it is that you want and what really matters to you. For most people, that's the hardest step. B, believe in yourself and your dreams. That's a choice and a muscle that can be developed. And A, prove that you really do believe in yourself and your dreams by taking action. So get clear about what you want, writing it down, talking about it, believing in your dreams, overcoming the obstacles around fear and doubt, which is a whole process.
Yes.
And then A, take action on the dreams. And the other piece I would just throw in, before getting clear, do the work, go on a passion quest, or do the work to really discover who are you, what is your purpose, what is it that matters to you, because without that, we've seen people climb to the top of the mountain only to realize it's the wrong mountain.
Well,
so
let's talk
know
about-
who you are, and then get clear and believe and act.
Good, I love that. And what about fear and doubt?
Yeah, so I'm an expert at this. I would say that my purpose in life is to believe. And because of that, I've done a lot of work around the different parts of ourselves that I would call the dreamer that says, yes, I can, and the doubter that says, no, you can't, and here's why. And I love this story to illustrate this point. I was giving a talk in Italy, and this woman came up to me and she said, you have, I just love your message, beautiful thick accent. She said, I love your message. Will you share one of your dreams with me? Now the truth of it is, we don't like to share our dreams because you might laugh at me, I might fail, you might steal my idea. Or the really big reason I don't want to tell you my dreams is you might expect me to do something about it,
Yes.
which is why coaching has become a multi-billion-dollar industry. I've trained and certified over 1,000 dream coaches worldwide, because when we tell someone else our dream, we're much more likely to do it.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, well, what the heck? I'm never going to see this woman again. I'll tell her her dream I've never told anyone. So I looked at her and I said, well, my dream is to spend the summer in the Greek islands writing a novel. She opens her purse, she pulls out a card, and she said, I have a villa in Greece. Won't you come as my guest? So I went, but first I had to deal with the doubter. So see if you recognize this unique brand of internal schizophrenia. On one hand, we have the dreamer who says, handed to me on a silver platter.
Yeah.
Clearly, I'm going to Greece. Then over here, we have the doubter who says, I don't know. Kind of far away, and it's dangerous over there. There's a little collusion between the doubter and the realist. The dreamer over here is like, I'm not afraid, and it's just a plane ride. The doubter is saying things to me at this point like, who's going to run your business while you're out of the country? The dreamer's saying, well, I've got a great team. I'm sure they can manage it. And come back to the doubter. The doubter says, but how's it going to look to your customers and your clients with you being out of the country for 3 months? The dreamer's saying, I'm thinking as a dream coach, it's going to look pretty darn good.